I'm Stanley Keyser. I'm the secretary for the Niles Depot Historical Foundation, and this building that we're standing in is the original 1901 Southern Pacific Depot. It was built on this site in that year, and in 1981 a group of people got together as the Tri-City Society of Model Engineers to save the building, which Southern Pacific wanted to burn down, and had it moved out onto Mission Boulevard, just west of the Sullivan Underpass. The building was moved to Mission Boulevard, where it housed a model railroad on the floor here, as well as one in the basement, and it was a museum. In 2009, the city developed the plaza, Niles Plaza here, and moved the building back. At the same time, they moved the Southern Pacific freight shed and moved it right next to it. And currently, the freight shed houses our HO model railroad, and this building, as well as museum, still houses our N-scale model railroad. Today, we're going to be taking a look at our HO layout and take a tour of what's there. It's currently under construction, and we are looking for new people that might want to come and learn how to build a model railroad and join us in building it. And once it's completed, we'll be able to run operating sessions and run like a real railroad.
Welcome to the Tri-City Society of Model Engineers HO layout. The layout starts in Niles. It's primarily a Southern Pacific model railroad with some Western Pacific also. From Niles, we go north to Pacific State Steel, and then down through the helix to staging, and that represents Oakland, and that's the end of the line that way. The other direction goes through the helix, up through Niles Canyon, and into the other room out to Hearst, Verona, Pleasanton, and East Pleasanton, and ends at staging there. The Western Pacific picks up at the Shin Yard and also goes through Niles Canyon and out to East Pleasanton. We have gravel quarries out there and a few other industries. The Southern Pacific also goes through Centerville and Newark down to Albury and San Jose, where our other staging, our third staging yard, is located. The model railroad runs on a Digitrax system. We have about 12 boosters, a command station, and multiple breakers located in 4 growers. The layout is separated into booster districts, and then each booster district is separated into breaker districts. We decided to go with Digitrax because most of our members had experience with that over NCE, but it was real close. They're both good systems. Inside the drawer, we have the power supply that runs the 3 boosters, a separate power supply to run the command station, and that's all wired down here to the breakers. From there, they go out to the various decks and zones on the layout. Construction of the layout is wood. It's mostly 2x4s and 3/4 inch plywood with 1/2 inch on the upper deck. Our members pretty much designed the bench work. We have screws in the bottom of the legs so that the bench work is adjustable and we can level it all off. The second level is supported by threaded rods and secured to the wall. That can also be adjusted and leveled off. The third level is basically a large shelf. It's supported by shelf brackets with some wood structure coming out from the wall, and it's very stable. It's worked out quite well for us and leaves an open space between the upper deck and the middle deck. For the helix design, we looked at a lot of different designs and kind of came up with a plan of our own that incorporated a lot of things from other designs that we looked at, mainly the threaded rod, so we could adjust each level individually and keep a 4-inch spacing between the levels. The wood is all 1/4 inch wood. We made quarter circles, so each piece is overlapped. You can see here there's a 1/4 of a circle here and then a 1/4 of a circle, and it's just glued together all the way around to make one piece without seams. So there are really no seams in that helix. It's basically one large piece of wood glued all the way up. The helix is about a 2% grade. It's the steepest grade on the club layout. Everything else is about 1.5 to 1.8%. Nothing exceeds 2%. The club has about 550 feet of main line and about 24 or 2,500 feet of actual track, including staging, yards, industry, all of the above. The club is using Code 83 Atlas Flex track. We don't have any hand-laid track. We're using Walther's Shinohara Code 83 turnouts. They all have tortoise machines. Altogether, we have about 240 turnouts and tortoise machines. All of them will be operated via panels on the front. That's the next phase of the electrical crew. Eventually, this will be the dispatcher's office. We're making panels that'll represent the entire layout. It'll have detection and signaling both on the layout and on the computer screen. The dispatcher will have the ability to throw turnouts anywhere on the layout and route trains. We'll also be able to route trains or run trains on the layout via panels on the layout itself. At present state, about 95% of our track work is done. Probably about 90% of our electrical, as far as bus wires, drops, DCC wiring, is done. The next phase is going to be to install panels and track detection for signaling, and the signaling will go in probably in 2018. And at this point, I'm going to hand you off to our train operator for a tour of the layout.
This is our layout here. We're going to show you starting out in Pleasanton, working back through Niles Canyon, and eventually going into Oakland. What we have here is a Southern Pacific cab forward pulling a unit train of mobile gas cars. And right at the end, just in front of the caboose, we have an Operation Lifesaver car. And then, of course, the Southern Pacific caboose and Ian. This could be considered the in the Niles Canyon along here. The Southern Pacific train is going to be going down our helix, which is how we get between our different levels. It'll be heading down to the level that has Niles in it, the city, and it'll be just a few minutes. It takes a while to get through the helix. We have 7 turns on it. One set of turns stops in the middle to go in the Niles. The second set of turns goes all the way down into our Oakland staging yard. Okay, the train is coming off the helix down from Niles Canyon, and it will be coming into the town of Niles as it loops around past the Niles station, headed for Union City. The depot is shown currently as it was when Southern Pacific ran passenger trains through it, which stopped in the mid-50s. The depot later in 1981 was going to be taken down by the Southern Pacific as a hazard. The Tri-City Society of Model Engineers formed. In order to maintain the depot, they picked it up and had it moved out onto Mission Boulevard, about a mile away. And in 2009, when the city decided to build a plaza, they moved it back to where it is currently, and very much similar to the spot it is now. This building represents the Pacific State Steel Company that was in Union City, one of their major industries. It took scrap steel and melted it down into brand new steel. It was taken down to the arc furnace, which is in a separate building, where it was melted down to make new steel, and then taken to a rolling mill where the steel was flattened out, made into rolls of steel like they would use for the automotive plant. Both sides would be serviced by the railroad. The train is going to be coming down at the bottom of the helix, going to our staging yard, which represents Oakland. The train looped around in the lower staging yard of Oakland, came back around to be set up to run again, either out towards Pleasant and Livermore in the Central Valley, or down the coastline through Niles down to San Jose and farther. Okay, currently we're looking at Southern Pacific Manifest train going by what in the future will be the San Jose Dearden Station. And this is part of our staging yard. So it'll be traveling through staging, coming back out eventually into El Viso drawbridge, and then eventually into the Newark yard. From Newark, we're going to route it out through Centerville and out to the Niles Canyon. The train now is going through Albury on its way to the Newark yard. The train right now is going towards the Newark yard, down there where it's curving around right now. Eventually we'll have a steam facility with a turntable and a roundhouse for servicing the steam engines. It is now coming towards the south end of the Newark yard. The train right now coming around that curve will be the Cargill Salt, formerly the Leslie Salt Plant, where all the ponds go, at the north end of the Newark yard. We're going near Shin here in Centerville. Actually, it's a little bit off, but the blue building there is a storage facility on the Southern Pacific tracks. Okay, the Southern Pacific train now is going through the crossover of the WP tracks where the Niles Tower was, approaching the bridge over Alameda Creek that runs parallel to Mission Boulevard. And across the overpass that goes into Niles. Catching up with our Southern Pacific train now, as it starts heading into Niles Canyon. It'll be crossing the Dresser Bridge, then past the old Niles Brickworks onto the Farwell Bridge. At the same time, we'll see a Union Pacific train on the former Western Pacific tracks crossing in front of it. The Southern Pacific's running alongside Alameda Creek here, and we'll be heading deeper in the canyon, soon passing Brightside on its way to Pleasanton. The train is currently passing what eventually will be the Brightside siding and a gravel pit, and also where the Pacific Locomotive Association currently stores its equipment. The train's currently coming through the tunnel that separates our two rooms, heading on down towards Pleasanton. Train's going through our Pleasanton storage yard right now. It's the end of the line for this train. In reality, it would keep going out past Livermore and Altamont Pass, eventually into the Central Valley.
My name is Bob Sawinski. I happen to be the president. Interesting, a lot of us are technologists. So what we have here is we're running a 802.11n network going to the computer with access points throughout the room, and we're able to communicate with our engines via our phones. May it be an Android running engine driver or an application for iPhones. So it's really interesting that we have the technology so we can run anything from a throttle to a phone. So as you can see, I can control the train, make it stop, reverse, go, make steam, all the functionality that you do on a Digitrack, a throttle. So yes, being part of the Silicon Valley, we love leveraging technology. It inspires all of us.